cocinando en el laboratorio. Yo vine del lodo, ahora quieren fotos. Y vamos por todo, cocinando en el lab.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the GMRT experience. Dude, we're on a roll, man. We've been recording, we've been steady. We're bringing you guys a lot of value. Like, I'm making sure that you guys get all kinds of information so you understand, this path of success, whatever success means to you. You gotta have certain things for this recipe. But I'm excited for this podcast. We're gonna get a lot of game. We're gonna get a lot of good nuggets here. And welcome, bro.
Thanks
have
for
you
having
introduce yourself?
Ryan Crowther, computer guy, shoe guy, whatever you want to call me.
Cool, man. So, bro, tell us a little bit about who you are, yourself, and all of that.
It's a loaded question, I feel like. Ryan Crowther from Utah, born and raised here, West Valley. I don't know, first podcast. So if I mess stuff up, bear with me. I don't know, man. I feel like that's a tough question to answer, When someone asks you, who you are, a lot of things come to mind. I think a lot of us default to, work. I think work defines a lot of us at the end of the day. So I guess we could start there. Work, what I do, I work for Dan the Laptop Man. A lot of you guys probably know him. He's been around a long time. He's my main mentor. He's driven me forward in life. I would say probably more than anybody else. I started out of high school just, fixing phones. I was always kind of the tech nerd of the family, the friends, I started there, like I said, started fixing phones. A local company went out of business. Me and my buddy, Manny, we were lucky to pick up 2 locations kind of on the fly. And so we went from 1 location to 3 locations really, really fast.
What year was that?
That would have been, 2016, 2017, maybe, date-wise. I don't know. My brain's bad with numbers when it comes to dates. And we were kind of bouncing, we went from working together every day in a really small, almost kind of like nail salon type of size room, to now bouncing between 3 locations, getting parts, dealing with employees, which was an interesting thing to learn. But we made it work, It was tough. There were a lot of challenges. I think the biggest thing we learned from that was how to deal with and manage people, from my car won't start to, hey, something more serious like a family member passed away, right? That part of growth and dealing with people, I think, is one you just have to experience to learn, more or less.
Wow. So let me ask you this really quick. So how long were you running that with your friend?
Gosh, it would have been about 2 years.
2 years?
2 years.
And was that on the West Valley area?
Yeah, so we were right actually by Taylorsville High, right where we went to high school. There was a vacancy. I think we had like $1,000 in our savings, and we're like, hey, we'll sign this lease. We'll do a month to month and just see what happens.
Dude, that's interesting because my first store was in West Valley.
That's crazy.
So I was in Valley Fair Mall.
Okay, cool.
so I as you were sharing your story, you were taking me back to 2018, 2019, those years. All the cool people that I met in West Valley was, as I'm going through my journey right now, they played a big part of that because I was just starting out. I didn't know what I was doing. And, they kind of let me fuck up a little bit.
Yeah.
And they weren't that rude.
Yeah.
So, but that's really good. So from that point, where do you started working with Dan? How did that connection happen?
So Dan, funny enough, before, this is crazy. So I kind of I didn't know like who had money in Utah, more or less, but I would always see this guy on TV, and I remember actually just I think I sent him an email being like, hey bro, like you do computers, I do phones, like, do you want to have lunch maybe or something? And I think I still have that email. I think he responded and said, yeah, kind of like, let's grab lunch and, whatever, we'll talk about it. And that's kind of the same way he is today. You can really, anybody that I've seen reach out to Dan, he's really good about just giving them the time, So we had lunch and he was like, yeah, it's probably not my type of thing, but good luck. And then, funny enough, I started dating his niece at the time, which is now my wife.
Oh, wow.
But, I can't remember. I think it might have been like Easter get together or something. I went back up there and he's like, oh, like, bro, like, how you doing? Like, it's been a while. And
you're back.
He's like, oh, you're back. He's like, what are you doing now? I was like, oh, still doing the phone stuff, It's like, oh, really? He's like, for him, it was almost like a test to see if I'd stick with it and like survive. Because then shortly after that, he's like, let's talk again, and that's where he was really like, hey, like, you've done well, you've stuck with it. That's kind of what I wanted to see. What do you think about coming over to PC Laptops and teaching all my retail guys phone repair, and kind of integrating that into the stack, next to computers.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I started with him, And so I did that. We got everybody trained up on phone repair. And, I was more just like a techie type of dude. I didn't really care. Even from West Valley growing up, money was never like, I never had it. So it wasn't like a goal type of thing per se. It was just like, oh, work with computers and phones. It's cool. It's, nerdy. It's what I like to do. And as I started going store to store, I'd go from anywhere from Orem to Ogden, across the valley, even to Vegas, and teach these guys. I started looking at the sales guys selling computers and be like, seeing what cars they were driving, the houses that these guys were living in and stuff like this. And I'm like, oh, like, that's kind of cool, That's really when money started to be like, oh, that would be cool if I can do both, do what I love with computers, phones, and still make money, like good money, and have these things. Like, maybe that's what I want to do, And so I started, as I would train these guys on fixing phones, I would start to listen to the sales guys at every single location, and just sit there for probably like an hour, at the end of the day, and just listen how they were interacting, how they were helping solve these customers' problems, whether that be, oh, like my computer's too slow to log into Facebook, or like, hey, I want to just be able to get on and, video chat with my family who doesn't live here, all these things. So I was lucky to experience that from every different location. And I remember going to Dan one day and being like, hey, man, like, the phone stuff's cool, and it's been awesome, but I think I want to try sales. And he's like, no, like, you can't do sales, man. Like, I need you doing this phone stuff. Like, you're really good, and that's, like, what you need to do, And so I kind of just, like, let it go, push it under the rug, more or less, Like, I was happy, right, doing what I love, phone stuff. But then it kept kind of bugging me, I kept thinking about it, I kept seeing like, oh, I do want a house, I do want a family, I do want all these things, but it all requires more money, And so I asked him, I think a couple months later, like, hey, like, I really want to do this. Can I like give it a shot or something, Like if someone's sick, wherever you need somebody, I'll go give it a shot, And I remember he's like, well, I'll give you 2 weeks. He's like, because that's like a pay period, right? He's like, our guy's going on vacation out of the Orem store. He's like, it's an hour drive, but that's kind of what we have right now. So I was like, all right, cool. Like, no worries at all. Like, I'll do it, And I remember getting it the first day and thinking like, oh, this is, I'm in over my head. There's no way I can like sell these computers, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to answer customers' questions, more or less, which is the most important part. And when that first customer came in, it just kind of clicked like, oh, I've got all the knowledge from 8 guys, like there's no way I'm going to like mess this up. I remember the first customer, I remember it was an older lady, and she just wanted to do family history stuff. It was like, oh, here's, this computer. It'll be great for what you're doing. And she bought. And I was like, holy crap, yeah, like I can really, really do this. And then the next customer was the same thing. And I'm like, I think, was a big moment for me, being like, I think that goes, across life. I think we often look at like, multimillionaires, billionaires, be like, oh, this guy's a freak, this guy's an alien, right? But if you reduce it down to ridiculous, you're human, I'm a human, right? There's no different. We're both human. Why can't we do the things, that we really want to do? And so I ended up in that pay period outwriting all of the sales guys that were there, some good. 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10, 12, whatever, and that was fun. And I kind of bounced around, just going to like different stores where I was needed more or less after that. And then an opportunity came up a couple years back to do like the corporate side of things, which is what I do now. And that's been awesome. But it was kind of the same thing, it was like, well, these are corporate sales guys, they exist. It's a different ball game, right? And so I was there learning, doing these things, and it was just kind of a natural progression, to where I'm at now. And I love it, man. Every day, I get to work with the studios that are building, Halo, Call of Duty, all these games that everyone plays, which is awesome. That's kind of my story, man. Quick, kind of jumbled together. I'm a rambler.
That's so good, bro. Because as you're talking, all I'm hearing is that you bet on yourself.
Yeah.
You just bet on yourself, like, and your story's always been that.
Yeah.
Like, just what I'm listening to, like, you're constantly betting yourself and, having to prove that, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And now, like, like I was telling you off camera, the one thing that it struck to me when I met you was, because I'm for what we do, the shoes and all the art, I've been fortunate enough to be in rooms that I've never thought I could be.
Yeah.
And then I'm a listener. When I go into those rooms,
yeah,
I ain't smarter than anybody. I'm here to learn. Yep. I'm a student of the game. And when Dan kept bringing you up, like mentioning you, I'm like, who is this guy? I need to talk to this guy. Yeah. And I made it a point. It's still in my phone, like, talk to Ryan.
Yeah, that's
I'm
awesome.
bald. That was like, and then the crazier thing was that when I told Ozzy, my right hand, I was like, dude, I sent him that picture. He's like, yeah, like I know that my brother knows that guy. And then even today he was like, yeah, my mom like holds a high standard of Ryan. And I was like, dude, like, I'm glad that, I was able to pick that up. And I was like, dude, like that guy's legit. So I'm glad that you're here. So one of the questions that I have for you is like, you just told us all this, that you're doing all the cool stuff, but you also have a business on the side.
Yeah.
And, from what I was reading on your Instagram as I was prepping for this episode, I saw that, you were running the business. You're still running it out of the basement, but you took it to 7 figures.
Yeah.
And, dude, like, explain that to me, man.
That's crazy. Like I said, man, it was one of those things, like, I always like to have something else, like I find it fun to do a lot of business stuff. Of course I like, hanging with friends, watching soccer all the time, playing video games from time to time. But I think I've been lucky to watch Dan, over the years. And I think what he does is so cool in regards to like almost turning life into the video game, if that makes sense. So to me, it's like, when we started that, like I just had my kids, I love sneakers, right? I'm like, what can we do? Like COVID's here. Like, what can we do after work that's going to be fun, cool, and maybe we can learn some stuff that'll help. Who knows where it will help, but maybe in the future it'll help. Who knows, So really, me and my wife were like, oh, like, baby, you like shoes. And so we started looking, to buy my son, Kendrick, some shoes. And so we started searching, like Gap, Old Navy, all these places. And we're like, there's not really, even like Nike.com, there's only when you get to like a certain size.
Yeah.
for like little kids, you know? So I'm like, oh, well, there's maybe a gap there that we can fill with something, you know, just funny, something crazy. So we ordered a bunch of samples. I looked for different suppliers, you know, and we started ordering all this stuff in to see, you know, quality. How is it? Is this something we could scale up potentially?
Yeah.
And so we started on Etsy and just sold like a couple, one or two orders. We're like, holy crap, like if one person will buy it, 1,000 people will buy it. You know, it's kind of the mentality from there. And so I built a website. I love building websites. I do that still for people now in doing some of the automation behind that. And so I built up the website. We threw it up there. We started an Instagram, started just posting, you know, we're getting maybe like 1 or 2 likes, you know, using all the hashtags, all the stuff on YouTube, you know, they tell you to do and trying different things. And we started to gain some traction, you know. It was like, oh, we got 1 order this week. Oh, we got 1 order every other day. It started getting shorter. It's like, oh, we got 1 order every day for a week now. Oh, we got 2 orders today. Okay, like now with that money that's coming in, we just were like, we don't care like if we lose all the money that we put in, which was only like a couple $100, right? We're just gonna spend all the money and reinvest it to see how this scales.
Yeah.
It's intriguing, right? Once you get a couple sales, like, oh, how far can this really go, you know? And so that's what we did. We started buying, we'd take 50% of the profit and buy more inventory. And then we started taking 50% of the other 50% and putting it to marketing. And at first it was just like, we're going to test out like a boosted post. We're going to test out like the Facebook, like little promotions they used to offer on certain like ad things, you know, stuff like that. And that was like, we started realizing like we'd get likes and views on these boosted posts and stuff, but it didn't necessarily translate to people purchasing. And so we started just watching YouTube videos and like from marketers and stuff like that, and really learning how to scale marketing effectively. And we ended up losing a lot of money for about a month just trying Facebook ads, which is across, you know, Facebook, Instagram, all this stuff. It seemed to be very volatile. And I remember, I think it was month 2, we lost about 10 grand. And we're like,
marketing?
On marketing. And we're like, hey, like,
I've been there.
We should not do this. Like, this is not working. Like, it's fine. We'll just, you know, we don't have too much inventory. We'll just kind of keep selling what it is. And so we kind of just let it die. And then I'm like, let's not market. Let's just try DMing like a bunch of influencers, right? Maybe that's the way this grows, right? So we started all these, you know, celebrities. We started looking at hashtags for like baby mama, all these to try and like snipe out some influencers, right? And we realized it took the same effort to message somebody with 1,000 followers or 100 million, right? It's just typing a message and hitting send. So we started going after these bigger people. And funny enough, at the time, AE, I don't know, he's friends with Tyga, another rapper producer. He was about to have a baby with Amber Rose.
Okay.
And so we sent him a message, and I looked at like when I try to snipe these people, I look at their profile, you know, do some research. I saw he was wearing the same Jordan over and over and over and over in a lot of pics. And so I sent him a picture like, hey, we'd love to, you know, just send you a pair, you know, congratulations on the baby, whatever. He's like, oh my gosh, this would be awesome. Like Amber would love this. And so we just sent it. Like we didn't know like to do like a contract or posting or anything like that. We just sent it, you know, and never heard anything back, like just ghosted. And then we woke up, I think it was November 16th. We woke up and we had 1,000 orders on our shop.
Shit.
We had 1,000 orders, and we're like, "What the fuck happened?" You know? Oh, sorry. We're like, "What the hell?" We're like, "What the fuck happened?" Like, this is a joke, right? And we open up Instagram and we see a message from Amber Rose like, "Thank you so much. We love this. Like, we'd love to buy some more," right? And then throughout that day, orders just just kept coming in like crazy. And I think we ended the day around 16 to 20,000 in sales in one day. And I'm like, holy crap, this kind of reassures my original thought, if one person will buy, 1,000 people will buy, right? And so I was like, okay, this influence thing does work. And so we kept doubling down on that, just messaging, we made it a goal, at least 20 people a day. We're going to just send out 20 messages a day and see if we can just give away product, right? It's cheaper than Facebook. And that worked for a little bit, but we weren't able to ever replicate like that impact of the Amber Rose thing. And so we started to slowly try Facebook ads again. And Dan introduced me. It was a mutual friend that they kill it on advertising, right? That's what they do. And I joined one of their classes. I bought the little course thing.
What's his name?
Jason Howard.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So they're crazy, right?
Yeah.
I started watching all the videos he was posting out. I joined their Facebook group. I started taking a course. I went out to their, warehouse, and I went through this entire course and finished it and started advertising again. And with just that knowledge and that one connection, it was like totally different. We went, $100 a day, $200 a day. We're spending at the peak. Some days we're spending $3,000 to $5,000 a day. And we just continued to do that until Black Friday of 2021. I think we got to a point where like, holy crap, this is so much. And we really need to decide, are we going to continue this, or do I need to focus more on what makes, the livelihood of our family, which is computers, And we kind of finished out holiday season, which was almost, it was almost like it felt at the time like too much, because it was just me, my wife, and we had some members of her family helping us pack these orders and do all this stuff. And it was like that on top of work. It was almost like a burnout in a way, and it got tough, and then, like I said, we started it with my son being born, and like, it became like a time thing, like, oh, we'd wake up, pack orders at 6 a.m., go to work, come home, pack orders again, go to bed, type of thing. And I think that caused a little bit of loss of passion, realistically, looking back. And so now it's just kind of like a back burner thing. We do the orders every day, but we're not at the point where like scaling it massively. Mm-hmm. But we learned a lot. And I think we're kind of in a stage where we want to find something like that next thing, that we're really passionate about. So I don't know, it was a kind of a crazy ride. It's still, like I said, we still get orders pretty much every day, but it's a different feel,
No, I feel you on that, because I've had that multiple times throughout my entrepreneurial journey. Mm-hmm. So I started with my brand. It was a fitness brand. Then, I opened my retail stores, and it became a streetwear brand.
Yeah.
And I started selling other people's brand and customizing shoes. And it has evolved.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for me, it was like, because I remember at one point on my journey, I didn't want to keep doing apparel. I was tired.
Yeah.
But I struggle. I'm like, dude, this is my baby. Like, and luckily enough, like, I always been passionate about like art and designing. Mm-hmm. So I just tapped into like the shoes, and now we're tapped into murals. Like we're just expanding into it, and then that's helping me like see the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. Because it happens to us like right now. Like, yeah, when we get a one-on-one shoe, they used to be like hella fun.
Yeah.
Like, they used to be like, fuck, like, yeah, we're going to do this custom shoe one-on-one. Don't get me wrong, they're still fun to do. Like, it's cool for the cloud, like Instagram and all that. But now it's just like, dude, we want to build like visions. We want to build big stuff. And it requires you to go to places that, okay, I need to like really think what I want. Mm-hmm. And that's hard.
It's super hard. I think it's just, at the end of the day, it's like being 100% honest with yourself, like you said, off camera, it's like, I think if it's just about money, it's not going to work. And a lot of times if it's just about what only you like, it's not going to work either, right?
Yeah.
It's about finding that kind of weird in between, which I think is tough for everybody.
Yep.
Not just one person.
And that's what I've noticed. Like a lot of people give up and they
Yeah.
quit because they lose that passion, that fire. But what I've seen from a lot of successful people is that, they just pivot. They pivot, they were doing this, okay, but now that led into, now I can do this. Okay, now that's a new passion. And they just go like that. I've seen it with a lot of clients. Like, they'll be doing one thing and out of nowhere, they're like building another company.
Yep. And I think that's kind of where we're at with like that, our little kicks thing is like, we've done it. We've learned a lot. We've dialed in, a lot of the marketing stuff, a lot of the back end email stuff, the automation, it's like, because I've seen a lot of people that do quite a bit of, orders and stuff like that. And now I can see like, this process that we created. I remember doing like 10 orders in one day when we first started. It would take us like an hour and a half because the process was crappy, right? Like we just didn't know, we hadn't learned yet.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I know like with a 2-person team, we can crank out 1,000 orders in 2 hours, right? And so it's like, now I can take that process and whatever that next thing be, apply it here. And it's still going to get better even then, Yeah. So I think that's the exciting part.
Because the knowledge doesn't go anywhere.
No, it's just where you apply it.
It's where you apply it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. As you continue on your path and your journey, all the lessons, they stay with you, and then you just take them wherever you go.
Yep, for sure. And I think that's been a super big advantage. Working with Dan is like in video games we call it power leveling. And it was interesting. We call it, he taught me power leveling, and I was listening to your episode with Vic, and he made a point like every coach has a coach, right? Mm-hmm. But power leveling is just like in a video game. I hop in with you, you're level 100, I'm a level 10, you're going to bring me up to that level faster.
Yep.
And so with Dan, that's like, I was able to see like, okay, I'm doing 7 figures here out of my basement. Okay, but he's got this mega warehouse. All the processes are dialed in. He's doing millions, like there's stuff I've done and stuff he's done. And it's like, I can bridge that gap now because I've seen both spectrums, which is huge.
So that leads into my next question because, dude, right now, us as a company, we're in that stage that I can see it. I can see the breakthrough. Because right now, I have employees, the overhead gets higher, the quality needs to go up, the shoes needs to go up, everything just goes up. So we're making money, but I'm spending just as much because the business needs to match the quality, everything. So, but as you're working with Dan and, being with him and, to me, when I was at that last event where I met you, it felt like that, dude, you were his right hand. He was just pointing you out. I'm like, dude. So what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned, just by observing and hanging out with him and seeing how he's building his businesses? What's been that biggest thing that you're like, okay, man, I get you?
Yeah, I think resilience is a lot of it, right? Because he's been, locally now he's been 33 years. So I think the first thing, whether you're successful or not have a lot of money, I think track record over a period of time is the most important thing, it's kind of like the crypto mentality, right? I could buy some coin and I could be a millionaire tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. But if I could buy that, if you get so good at something, you can do it for a long time. And that's what Dan's shown me is that consistency over now 30 plus years. That's a hard thing to do, right? But I would say that one concept that he's taught me that I've seen, with him over and over also is that reduced to ridiculous. That to me is something I think about daily. And that goes hand in hand with goals, obviously, right? He always used to tell me if it's not written, it's not real. He used to tell me that almost every day because he'd tell me to do something and then I would forget it, be a knucklehead, forget it. He's like, did you write it down? I'm like, no. That's like a pen and paper you have there, It's I'm not going to write it down. That's so old school. But then I started writing down my goals. And I think when you take those goals, hey, I want to make $100,000 this month, right? Let's just say for example, that's cool. That's a great goal. But how often are you going to think about it? You know? So what he made me do is write down my goal every morning. It's saved as the screensaver on my computer. Every day before I come in, I have my coffee. I'm just looking at that goal. But that goal isn't just 100,000. It's, okay, what's 100,000? I'm going to be here 30 days. Okay, let's do, 100,000 divided by 30 days. This is exactly how much I need to make per day. And then take that and then go to, how much is that per hour even? Okay, and now that I have that hourly, how many computers is that to sell? How many baby shoes is that to sell?
So good.
And then the caveat to that is then being honest with myself, because, sales days are going to go up and down. But if I'm looking at it daily, I have to be honest, being like, hey, yesterday was crappy. Like, if I needed to sell 10 computers that day and I only sold 2, well, now I've got 18 this day. But if you're not looking at that every single day, it's easy to get complacent and just be like, yeah, I'm moving towards my goal, right? Like, yeah, that's enough. That's enough. I'm making progress. When in reality, you might just be spinning in that circle, right? So I think writing down your goal, like you said, you're in this phase of like costs are going up, but the business is getting bigger and you're spending all this stuff. But it's like, do you have the goals outlined? What does the next step actually look like? And what action items are there to get it there, And I think that's a big one that I struggled with in the past. And I think a lot of people do still now, like daily. Like a lot of people, whenever I hire a new sales guy and stuff, it's like, oh, I want to buy a G-Wagon. Okay, but do you know how much a G-Wagon is? Is it 50 grand, 100 grand, 150? Okay, cool. Let's just say 150. What do you need to do to get to that level? It has to be so clear and you have to look at it daily or it's not going to happen, right?
So good. So right now, what do you do for Dan and where you guys are working? What's your role right now?
My role right now, my specific role is director of corporate sales. So I handle all of just the major B2B accounts, like NASA, Tesla. So I'll go in and be like, hey, what do you need to do? What software are you running? What projects are you working on? And here's the computer hardware that will help you do that, right?
Wow.
And then we'll sit down with them, let's run through, what programs you're using. Hey, it took you an hour to render this part of your project. Okay, let's see. If you had better hardware, yeah, it's going to cost X amount, but if you can turn that hour into 15 minutes for that render project, that pays off, exponentially over the course of a year, So that's pretty much what I do in a nutshell. I help with a lot of other parts of it too, yeah. But that's my main focus there. Recently took on all of our online chat sales team. So I'm over all those guys now, which they're all awesome. And we're trying to kind of build that out and up. So
I'd love to talk to you more about that because right now, that's what I'm focused on, like sales, corporate. And it's been interesting. It's because I went from like customizing shoes with the team to like, now they do everything. Now I'm just focused on the vision.
Yeah.
But that means I have to have bigger conversations. I need to be in different rooms. I need to be like dial in pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting. Like, I just hired a coach to help me like my sales, like how to sell my product, my vision. And every time I coach with him, I'm like, dude, I fucked that other call. Like I did that wrong. I'm like, but it's like, here's the thing. Like he was telling me this the other day. He was here. He's like, you have to learn, bro.
Oh yeah, you have to.
So I'd love to talk to you more off camera, how what that process is, because I'm deep in that right now, like very deep. I'm trying to like, and like it makes me even think deeper about my business and what we're doing, because I need to be able to explain that to other people, to help them solve their problem.
Yep.
Because that's what it comes down to. So dude, that's pretty awesome. One thing that I noticed too when I was at you guys' building, it was like when they gave us the tour, like Dan really explained why you guys' computers are the best.
Yeah.
And I did a video of it, and the way he was explaining it, it was like you could see the passion behind the product. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. That's what I like.
Yeah.
I like seeing the passion. Like, okay, if you're building a notebook, tell me why this is the best.
Yeah. Which I think that's important, right? But see, even myself, I would say, I think being aware of what you're good at is also a thing. Like, I don't ever see myself being able to portray the passion the same way Dan is. But that's why, being a part of the team, it's like he brings that, aspect. I think that's important is when you are creating teams and hiring people is hire people that are better than you at what, your weakness is. Be honest with yourself to be like, hey, I'm really bad at public speaking. Okay, if I need somebody in that role, I'm going to hire somebody that's way better, and being humble enough to do so, because Dan's good at that. But I think like what you said earlier is like, you're really good at listening. And I think that's where I come in. Like, you could probably go talk to 100 sales guys. I might be the worst at public speaking and actually talking, but I'm really good at listening. When I hop on a sales call, I'm like, hey, is it okay if I take some notes? I'm an old guy, I get my pen and pad out, write everything down, and then I'm able to review that, kind of why we're talking, and almost prescribe what they need, almost like a doctor, what's going to fix their needs, what is going to solve their problems. And so I think it's just, again, like you said, you're diving into that sales aspect and getting that coaching. I think it just needs to also be catered to what you're good at. You're a great listener. You are really good at asking questions that provoke thoughts in others. I think once you figure that out, you can lean into that, and it's people buy from people at the end of the day. You don't have to be robotic sales bro that can sell whatever,
Yeah.
But if they feel like they're buying from a person and feel that passion, easy.
I had another question for you. So how do you guys work with this athletes, celebrities? How does those connections start happening? Because I know Dan was talking about that, and I never thought about that. Athletes buying computers, but then at the same time, I was like, well, I do see them on TikTok. They're always playing video games. So I was like, dude, yeah, that makes sense. So how did that work out?
That's crazy. I think the first one, I think some of the big, the jazz athletes and stuff, I think a lot of it was just from events like the X Room, honestly. I think when you get certain people in a room and you start making those little connections, right? It's like, oh, hey, this. And then it's like, athletes are funny because, a lot of them do love gaming, right?
Yeah.
Like when COVID was there and everyone was in the NBA bubble, those guys were gaming nonstop. That's all they could do, right? And it's like, oh, one guy got a computer. Well, this guy, oh, I want a computer now. It's like shoes, right? Someone gets a custom shoe. Hey, where'd you get those? And it just starts to snowball, right? And if you provide that experience of chill, just being friendly almost, it's like you don't need to sell people anything if your product is really good and the experience is really good, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how can you, when I look at a brand or I look to buy something somewhere, I'm like, how are they selling me without even talking to me? Do I feel like can you feel that brand passion? Can you feel that culture? Is it, you can almost feel it. You can get a sense of is this going to be good? But the celebrities, the athletes and stuff like that, it just kind of snowballed. Referral is huge, even with a lot of my clients now, I'm lucky to not have to do a bunch of cold calling. It's just hey, we worked with Ryan on this project here. You should give him a call, and I think that's what it is. And I feel like you'll know if you provided somebody a good experience, or a good product, you'll have no issue being hey, if you loved it, is there anybody else you were awesome to work with? Is there anybody else that comes to your mind that would love this or this? I think that's really cool. I think it's really cool.
That's really good. Yeah, everything that we've done up to this point has been referral based.
Yeah,
we don't run any ads. We're not sending emails, which. I mean, we should, but I'm I like the referral because it helps me. I'm not going to lie, not everything I've done perfect, but just get better, you know. Like I've just been learning, and focusing really on the experience. That's what I love. That's what my podcast is called, the GMRT Experience. Yeah. In my life, my world, my business, my employees, it's an experience, and I like to give my clients and friends that experience, because it's that passion that comes with like the packaging, the presentation, the stitching, like the video, like the whole thing. Yep. And it's very fun when you can connect those things. It makes your product. You don't even have to sell your product. Like just people just feel attracted to it.
Yep, exactly.
And they just kind of want to just buy from you.
Yeah, 100%.
So my other question for you was like, being a dad and, you know, working corporate and owning your own business and, you know, family stuff. Bro, how do you do all that? And I mean, you work for a guy like Dan. Yep. Like, I don't know like that behind the scenes, but I would assume that, yeah, his life it's fun, it's a little crazy. So how do you deal with all of that, like, and balance that out?
I think that's why it goes back to like finding the balance of passion and like obviously money, because at the end of the day you have to have money to do stuff, right? Mm-hmm. That's the reality. I think finding that balance, and then I would say like when it comes to relationship stuff, another thing Dan taught me really early on is ask permission ahead of time. Like with my wife, it was like, he's like, hey, sit down with your wife, say, hey, this is the life, this is the income that I want to make, this is what it's going to require to do so, you know? And there are going to be nights where it's like, hey, I'm going to have to hop on calls 8 p.m., 9 p.m. That's going to happen, but are you okay with that ahead of the time, you know? And my wife, I'm lucky enough, she was 100% on board. She's like, yep, that's the life. We were very aligned there, you know? And those small sacrifices, you know? When it comes to kids and spending time, that's also something, you know, I told Dan, I was like, hey, I have kids. That is my priority, you know, is being a great dad first, because without that, you know, like the money at that point doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? Like the kids are number one, and I don't want to miss my kids' soccer games. That was a non-negotiable for me, you know. He plays on Saturday, and I want to be there, you know. And setting that expectation is all it boils down to, really, you know. Hey, I want to be at my kids' games, but Dan knows if he needs to call me here, X, Y, or Z on this date, this time, we need to go do this, we need to fly out to California. He also knows I'm going to respect him enough to be like, yeah, this is what I signed up for. We both agreed, and that's what we're going to do, you know? So I think just setting those boundaries and asking for that stuff ahead of time is really all that it takes to manage that, you know? Yeah, and then do stuff you love at the end of the day, you know? Because you start to, I think everyone starts to feel the pressure, the tension, like getting overwhelmed. I think that's just a natural human thing, right? Have those healthy things to almost reset, right? Whether that is, you know, hop on and play Call of Duty, play FIFA, whatever it is. You know, maybe that, who knows, maybe that is having a beer at the bar with your buddy, and that can completely reset you. But be aware of what that is, and make sure you schedule the time to do those little things too. I think that helps a lot. Yeah.
No, and I like asking those questions to anybody that comes to the podcast and they're married and have kids, because I'm a single guy. I don't have any kids. Yeah. But it's always in the back of my head, because I'm an all-in guy. I'm passionate about what I do. Like right now, I don't have to tell anybody. I just do it. But it's also in the back of my head, like, okay, how would I manage this when I bring somebody into my life? Yeah. And I want to let them know, hey, I want to have this lifestyle. It's going to require this because I've been doing it for this long. Are you okay with that? And the way that you just phrased it, it helped me. It helped me because, like, you know, it's something that's always in the back of my head. Yeah. Like I don't want to, like, lose my drive because I'm bringing somebody into my life, but I still want to love that person and my kids and all of that, you know? Yeah,
100%, which like, it's important, right? Because I think where things go wrong is, like, you meet a girl and everything's great, you know, you're taking her dinner, you're doing all this stuff, and that becomes the expectation. And in the early stages, she's not going to see that, oh yeah, well, during the day I'm busting my ass, or all weekend I got this special part. Like, she's only going to see one side of it. And then so if you are now a couple months in and that changes, you know, let's say it's crunch time, right? It's Q4, whatever, busy season, and that completely changes, that's where all those problems are going to hit, right? And you're going to be forced to then choose, like, it sounds bad, but you're going to be forced to choose, like, this relationship here or business, right? But it's different. It's tough because if you do it like my way and ask for permission and set it up from the beginning, there's probably going to be a lot of people that are like, nah, like, I'm not down for this. That sounds crazy, right? And you're going to, you know, lose some relationships maybe you thought was meant to be almost in a way. And that's tough. That's hard. Yeah. That's really hard. But I think, you know, I'm big on if it was meant to be, it'll be type of guy.
And that's something that I've never done. That's why I'm telling you, it's helping me. Like, just what you just said right there, it helped me.
I'm glad.
I never, when I brought anybody into my life, let's just talk about women, they seen, like, they're like, yo, this guy's, like, doing all this stuff. Like, but I've never been upfront in a way, like, but this is what it requires for me to have this, for you to go to a nice restaurant, like the stuff that you like and stuff like that. And now that you said that puts already, you know, you're honest right up front. And then that saves you from a lot of pain too.
A lot, man. Because, just spent some times where it's like, it can get rough, right? Like, especially because you start to get really invested in another person, right? Like, oh, this is awesome. She's everything I wanted. But at the cost of all this stuff that I loved before she came into the picture, it's tough, man. So up front, it might hurt a little bit more up front, but it's going to save, you know, in the long run, that pain of, like, breaking up in 6 months because, it's just the same fight over and over and over.
Well, for the younger guys out there listening, take note. You know, I'm 31 and I'm taking notes. I'm like, I need to do that next time. Dude, honesty is the biggest thing, man. So thank you for giving me that game, man. That was really good. Dude, I also wanted to ask you this. Like, I've noticed when I was at your building a couple of weeks ago for the X Room, shout out to Sean Finnegan, great guy. Love that dude. He's a massive connector.
That was awesome. Awesome.
Dude. Like, so I saw all the cool stuff, all the art, I was just fucking fascinated. I'm like, dude, like, I want to work here. Yeah. I have my own job. I want to work here. So how does that work? Like, as we were also walking through the warehouse, I peeked into Dan's office, and I saw the cool stuff. Everywhere I looked, I was like, dude. And I get it because that's how I am. Like, every room here, I want it to be cool. Yep. It needs to be inspiring.
Yep.
Who comes up with all those cool ideas? Like, budget, okay, we need, all of this. How does that work, dude?
It's funny. When it comes to Dan's office, there is no budget. There's a lot of the stuff in Dan's office is super cool. His daughter drew or created most of that. She's an awesome artist. And then a lot of the stuff, like the weapons you probably saw in there, all the crazy guns, the alien stuff, we have a bad habit of just collecting cool stuff along the way. Mm-hmm. Like in my office, I have the big Spartan from Halo. we did the Halo World Championship stuff here a couple months ago. I was like, hey, buddy, it's done. Can we just take one of those back? We always ask people for random stuff. And it just starts to collect, and it kind of, everyone brings stuff that they love, and it creates kind of a really cool, you know, place to be, honestly.
I relate to that because, that's how I am. A lot of the things that I have is, I got a bunch of friends that are artists, or, I'll go, thrifting, or, Facebook marketing. I'm I want something random. Yeah. And I just start looking, and I'll spend hours just looking for a random chair or a table. Just because, I don't know, it's inspiring, bro. Having random shit like that throughout your creative space, it just does something to your head.
Yeah, I feel like it almost breaks up it breaks up the flow a bit, honestly. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you're smashing away, maybe punching numbers, doing accounting, whatever it may be. But then you look up and you see, oh, Charizard, you know? Oh.
Yeah.
It's almost like a little reset. It's fun to have that stuff there.
And then I was going to ask you too, like you're working with Dan, and what's been the biggest like the coolest thing you guys have done, like, or like top three, or like something that you're like, oh, the shit, that was dope.
Gosh, there's been a lot of crazy stuff. I got to think about that. That's tough. We've done a ton of just crazy stuff. The coolest. The craziest I would say would be Lake Powell. We got a houseboat and got pretty crazy out there.
That's fun.
That's probably the craziest thing, because we ended up calling some artists, telling them to come over here, like private show type of stuff. That was probably the craziest. The coolest thing, I think Dan hit it at the X Room, was that whole Ebola thing. When there was an outbreak there, we were able to, create that hardware to make the world a better place.
Wow.
And I think that's awesome. And that's why, again, working with the clients that I do, whether it be Tesla, NASA, all this stuff, it's like these computers that we're doing that we're creating and selling, we're creating them to solve problems that are actually having an impact, and whether it be practical or they're being used to, build the video games that everyone loves and plays, because I think video games some people hate them, some people don't, whatever it may be. I think it helps a ton of people, like I said, it might help that guy that works an 18-hour shift and that's his way of just completely decompressing, right? Or, hey, it may be single dad here that gets his kids on the weekend and they bond over playing Mario Kart, and it's the best time in his life, the best time he looks forward. So I think that's a lot of cool stuff, man. Like, so it's just cool.
Going back to that, how do you like work with Tesla and NASA? How does that even work, dude?
It's crazy. So when you get super big corps, it gets a little bit tricky. But again, like those two accounts were just referrals.
Wow.
It was a buddy. It was like, hey, like, I want you to meet Ryan. He helped us with this project when I was at this company. In the tech world, it is interesting because people tend to bounce to different companies a lot, and so when a guy leaves, Tesla and works for NASA, we try to retain, where he used to work and where he's going to work, and because of that relationship, and then we kind of just keep growing. Maybe he goes to 5 different companies. Our goal is to, work with all of them, which is awesome.
And then, dude, I just have so many.
Keep firing, because I'm just gonna ramble. I'm
so,
you're gonna have to you have to edit the crap out of this.
No,
only the best clips, the best shots.
I got a good editor. But one thing that stuck to me when I was going back to the building, I was very fascinated. It was it was very inspiring, man, because we're not at that level, but I can see like what you guys are doing. I can see it. Right when I walked in, I'm like, fuck yeah, I get it. Computer laying down, the fucking break room, the lockers, the way everything was displayed and laid out. I'm like, okay, I get it. Even like we were talking about like the goodie bags that you guys gave us at the end, the quality of the hat.
Yeah,
I was like, it wasn't like a regular hat. Like I could tell there was like, let's take care of this. But as we were walking in the warehouse, I noticed you guys had like a production line.
Yeah.
And we thought about doing that with shoes as we're doing corporate orders, and we've been testing out. Right now we only have, it's just Aussie and Sierra.
Yeah.
But as we're growing, we're testing things out. Like, how could this look like when we have an order of 200-300 shoes and we need an assembly line? Who came out with that idea? How does that work?
Yeah, that's going to be a mix of Colton. Colton was not there. He was quarantining so he could go to Fiji on a vacation that he deserves and needs. But Colton is the president. He's the other genius there. And that's something, again, that goes down to writing your goals. I think Colton was like me. Dan always likes to say, me and Colton, you guys are very alike, because Colton used to work at NVIDIA, which is like the big company behind the graphics card and all the AI stuff, right? Colton came over from NVIDIA, and he started very entry-level position as well. Like he was just in purchasing. That's what he did, right? But as the company started to grow a little bit, that relationship came better. And Colton is amazing at taking an idea and bringing it to life almost. And I remember early at the old warehouse, they would always talk, like Dan even, we're going to have a big warehouse, we're going to do this. And I remember one day Colton was like, well, like, what does that look like to you? You know, we talk about this, right? But let's draw it out. And Colton actually designed the entire warehouse. It used to be the Quilted Bed. I don't know if you ever knew that company. I was like, I remember as like an old place my grandma used to go to, like weird stuff. But Colton took, that building went up for sale. Colton went through there and then he got the plans and he was able to draw everything out. This is what it looks like. This is what we're going to need. This is how much production and stuff we can do with this size of a building. So really Colton was the genius behind
so good
bringing that. But I think it is important, like you said, with your shoes, you thought about it, like, oh, what if we get 200 orders? I think even if it's just on the back of a paper, a mini drawing of like what that would look like helps so much. Yeah. You know, it's like, because I even did that like for the shoes in our basement. I'm like, crap, like we don't have a lot of space and I don't want to pay to rent a place, like, because time's already limited, right? I don't want to drive somewhere just to do these orders and then go to work, right? And I remember driving out like, oh, we're going to have 12 racks. They're going to be horizontal and we can fit 10 here. And then the bins will be around the edge of the room and we can restock the mini bins. But it's just, even if it's not complex and very simple. Yeah. Like I said, if it's not written, it's not real. Write it down and look at it.
Yeah. No, that's really good. Like, I'm telling you, that's what I was telling you off camera. I want to take the team to, so they can see what I saw. Because I was telling them, but I'm like, fuck, you guys just need to go see that place.
Dude, let's do it.
Because it was good. The assembly line hit me hard because I was like, okay, even the little rooms, you got the computer set up in between the assembly line. Yeah. And I was, my head was just like spinning like crazy. So it was very profound to get to see that and have the opportunity to see that. It was like, holy shit, I'm here. Yeah. Like it was just so fun to see all that cool stuff that you guys are building over there. And one thing that I just thought about as you were speaking and bringing all these people that are helping build this company that you guys have, it sounds like Dan, you know, he moves people up.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, and that's very like profound too, because, you know, that's kind of what I've been doing. Like everybody, like right now we all have like Ozzy's here and me, we have like, we're wearing like multiple hats. Yeah. But what I've noticed is like, you know, like when I bring people in, I start them like how Ozzy started. And then I start slowly moving them up, giving them more. And I've noticed like it builds that culture in the company. Yeah. Because they can see what we're doing. They can see the vision. They're bought in. Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%. And I think even more so, it's like the greater understanding. You know, it's like I remember Dan at one time. We went to one of the stores and someone at the time was there was a bunch of trash like out in front and the bathroom was dirty. And on the way in, Dan stopped and picked up all the trash, put it in the garbage can, didn't say anything, walked in, used the restroom. He's like, hey, like after we left, he's like, hey, like the bathroom was dirty. You notice all the trash and stuff. He's like, I asked so-and-so to clean it. And their response is, I'm not the janitor, you know. Wow. And I think that's very important to have people on the team that are willing to do anything regardless of your title. And I think that's why starting people low and watching them build all the way up is super, super critical, just because that way they can, as they move up, they can still resonate with people lower than them because they were there once, right? Mm-hmm. They did what they were doing. They're not going to be an asshole and be like, hey, clean my shoes. Hey, take out my trash, because they were there once. And I think it just builds that super, super strong culture.
So good.
Like it's crazy.
No, that's really good, because even the bathroom thing, like we all, like right now we all have, I'm a clean freak. Yeah. I like shit clean. I get mad if it's not clean, but we all understand our roles. Like, okay, I still clean. I own the company. I'm making sure I'm cleaning. I got sections that I'm in charge of making sure it's clean. They all have their own section that they're in charge to be clean. Like make sure the fridge is stocked up. Like everything's for a reason. And what I realized is just like when it happened to me that when I tell the team like, okay, you're in charge of that, I already done that.
Yeah.
So I can relate to like what you're gonna go through, and then once they pass it along to the other person, they're gonna relate to that because they already did it, and they might be still doing it too.
Yeah, and Dan always tells people that too. New hires, he told me that multiple times. Hey, I'm not gonna ask you to do something that I haven't done once already, or wouldn't do again. And I think that's a great way to go about it, And it's like, hey, like if stuff did happen, let's say like even with Colton, for example, it's like I remember. Was it last year? Yeah, last year our dock where we received stuff started to flood, and the first person out there, it wasn't a warehouse worker. It was Colton. He's in there. His pants are all wet. He's getting water out. And I think that shows a lot about a company and the culture of a company. When it's a top-down approach.
Yeah, dude, and that's the biggest thing. Like I've noticed, like with the good companies, there's culture. There is culture. The ones that, you can start seeing the retention, people leave, come and go. They're always hiring. I can pick right away there's not a good culture in there.
Yep.
And it starts from the top and it pours down to the bottom.
Yep.
And dude. But one of my last questions here is like, you're working for Dan, you have your own business. Like you got a lot of fucking skills, bro. Like you're managing this big accounts and all that. Like, can you give us some game to me and everybody that's listening? What's been the biggest lessons that you learned? Lessons, because I know there's multiple, but let's just say somebody starting right now, they're listening to you. You're doing all this cool shit. You're working with this great guy that, has all the stuff. What have you learned? What's the biggest key lessons that you can give us right now and be like, okay, this was it?
I know it's very cliche, but ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, especially if you're starting out and you don't understand it. I think a lot of the times people start and they're afraid to ask the question, right? Because they don't want to look dumb. You don't want to feel dumb. But asking the questions results in you getting past that point you're stuck at. If you don't ask the question, you're going to be stuck at that point. And the other one, the super cliche one, is fail faster. Don't be afraid to fuck shit up. Like, that's the reality. You're going to have to fuck shit up over and over and over in order to get it right. But the next time you do it, you're going to get it right. But just don't be afraid to fuck it up. That's the big one, honestly. Like, you can't. So but that cripples a lot of people, man.
Yep. Bro.
Because you don't want to look stupid. That's a dumb reason. It's a dumb reason not to get better.
Yeah, because I've been there.
Only you don't want to look stupid.
Yeah, I've been there. Times that I'm like, I'm too scared to fuck it up, and I'm like, and you just don't do anything. Now I'm like, I'm just gonna fail fast, learn, and do it again,
and move on. Yep, and it's funny. That's bringing me back because you said Valley Fair Mall too. It's just so funny because I also did back in the day there, right next to the old food court, and they had the little Subway right there. My buddy worked at the Subway, and then my other buddy worked selling those. Do you remember those power band? They do like pushing your arm and you balance and shit. Yeah. And I would always go to Subway, and my buddy would be working at that booth trying to sell those, and I would sit there at Subway and just clown on him, just like this guy looks like an idiot, right? And then he'd be like, "Well, I made $300 today, man. Like, what'd you do? You spent $5 on a Subway." And I'm like, "Dang, he looks funny." But he's making money, he's getting it done. So I can't be afraid, And then so I started just standing there doing the demo sometimes and started to learn,
Oh, so you worked at Valley Fair?
Unofficially. When he took his lunch, I'd be like, "Hey, dude, I'll cover for you and we'll split it. Whatever I sell, then we'll split it, man."
Hustler, bro.
And then, so we started doing that because I wasn't old enough yet. This is my older buddy. But yeah, Valley Fair, I spent a lot of time there, man.
Ooh, that's crazy.
Crazy.
I spent a lot. Dude, I learned so much by being at Valley. I started on the kiosk. The funny thing is that I started on this kiosk, And then even the general manager, he's like, I could tell the look on his face that you ain't gonna last, bro. So, but it was a challenge.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I was there for a few months. I didn't make any money. I was actually losing money. But I took over a store, an old Payless shoe. And then he was like, he gave me a killer deal. He was like, okay, I'll give you 2 months for free, but you gotta clean up the store, bro. And Payless shoe, there's shoe racks from here all the way.
Yeah, I remember that.
Dude, so I had to hustle. So I hired like some these Mexican guys from Home Depot, got him in my car. All right, let's take this stuff out.
That's awesome.
And then I put all the metal things in Facebook Market, and some guys just can't pick it up.
That's awesome.
So it kind of like, it helped me out. But dude, I learned so much from that mall.
Yeah.
Because they didn't care about anything, so they just let me do whatever I want. So I was just like testing with them.
Yeah, that store is crazy. That mall is crazy back in the day, man.
It's still crazy, bro. I go there once in a while just to like, you know, like I just like to like remember shit.
The nostalgia of it, it drives you back in.
I'll walk into the store too. Sometimes I'll walk into the store and I'll be looking at they still haven't painted it. Like they still have the same paint.
That's
like
crazy.
And I'll be looking at the floor and I'll just be remembering, oh shit, I spent a lot of time in
Yep. That's crazy. Yeah, I was right next to that kiosk. The Power Balance one was, the food court, the Power Balance, and then, I don't know if you remember, it was like it was the fragrance store.
Okay.
Right there. And so we spent a lot of time over there. That was crazy.
Good times.
Good times, yeah.
Dude, and so lastly, my last questioning, I ask this to every guest that comes to the podcast. It could be multiple things, but what's the biggest things that you're grateful for right now in your life, your current situation? It could be multiple things, but, you know, like, what are you grateful for right now?
Family, number one. That's everything for me, you know. Health is number two. And then just in conjunction with health is the opportunity to work and learn. I think that's the biggest ones for me right off the rip. What about you?
Dude, that's the first time somebody
asked that bad, man. I feel like I've been talking for 5 hours.
Dude, that's actually...
Here I am, I'm like, I'm a good listener. And I just spewing out, rambling on. I do that because I'm a bad speaker, but...
No, bro. Now, see... You're my favorite guest.
Yes.
You asked me. Nobody has asked me that, dude. I can tell you, like, right now, I'm grateful for, like, people like you, bro. Like, you know, like, being able to have conversations and meet people like you. Because not too long ago, I didn't know where people like you were.
Yeah, I feel that.
Like, even like when I was at X Room, like I've been to a lot of masterminds lately, like, or throughout like last year and this year, but being in those rooms and just listening, bro, like it's just like mind fucking blowing to me that what am I doing here? That I was just at a kiosk at Valley Fair Mall. My first sale was $45. Yeah. My first day, like what am I doing here? So now having conversations like this, you're helping me as much as you can even imagine, bro, because you're helping the vision, you're helping my employees, my team, like it's just, that's what I'm really grateful for, bro. Like, I
appreciate that, man.
Just having these type of conversations and bringing people like that into my world and because it's helping us, you know. Like I'm building this thing, like no investors, like figuring it out, making mistakes, like employing people. You know, we have seasons, we go up and down, and the biggest thing is, you know, another thing that I'm grateful for is my team. Like, they believe on what we're doing, and when things get hard, like there's been many times that I think about, dude, they could go do something else and probably make more money than what they're doing with me, but they stick.
It's that culture, man. That's the culture in here. You can see that just walking through, man.
Dude, it's mind blowing to me. I'm like, so that's a thing that I'm like. That's what I'm like, okay, I need to work hard. Yeah. I need to figure out, I need to be a better leader for them because they're believing in me.
Yeah. That's a lot of pressure,
It's a lot of fucking pressure, bro. I can't be messing up. So, but yeah, dude, thank you for asking me that, bro. Like, it means a lot. And lastly, just give people your social, like where they can find you if they have any questions, your credit card, Venmo, whatever you want to give
social. Dude, that's a crazy question. I don't even know my socials. That's how bad. I'm so bad at social stuff, man. At our Lil Kicks is one, I guess, where I'm looking up my actual personal one. Ryan00C.
There we go.
There it is. I was like, I got to look that up, man.
No, you're good, bro.
A lot of times I forget to post even.
No, it's so
so
good.
My wife is like, post something. I'm like, all right.
Well, no, I just like to ask in case, because we don't, like, I see, like, the numbers that people listen, but I don't know, like, it doesn't tell you who's listening.
Yeah.
You just see a number.
Yep.
But, you know, I know there's somebody out there that's going to listen to this, and you said something very profound, and they may have a question. So I like to let them know, hey, reach out to him directly. He'll be able to help you out. So, but yeah, dude, thank you for coming by. Like, dude, like, right on time.
There we go.
I appreciate you're swinging here and giving us some game.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been awesome. Like I said, first one, I may be a sales guy, but I hate speaking.
No, bro, but here's the thing. You got so much fucking game, bro. Like, literally, like, I'm just going to say this in front of everybody because I was going to ask you off camera, but I need to be coaching with you, bro. Like, you need to, like, I need to be hanging out with you, bro, because you have wisdom. And I'm like,
down.
I'm like, I need to learn more.
I'm down. My only thing is I don't like to, like, I'm down for all that stuff, but, like, I'm the type, like, let's say, like, even like I remember my buddy he does a lot of stuff for Crumble now. He does all their media stuff. I'm the type of like, hey, I want like to pick your brain on like building out my website or like my email flows or something like that. Like I'm just like don't want to be like, hey, dude, like let's go do it. I'm a hands-on type of guy. So as long as people are fine with that, that's for me. Let's do it.
That's
you know what I mean?
awesome, bro.
I love doing that stuff. So.
Well, thanks
again for having me, bro.
Thank you for coming. And guys, I encourage you go re-listen to this stuff, man. Like there was a lot of game, a lot of value in there. Like I was telling you guys at the beginning of the episode, I don't know what success looks to you guys, but it's a recipe for you to get to that level that you want to get to. There's a lot of things that you got to have in place. So that's why I make sure that I bring all kinds of people into the podcast so you can pick and choose. Like, it doesn't mean like you have to do it the same way, but you know there's a way. So anyways, guys, thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next time. Peace.